Welcome back, everybody. Here's a question asked by our next guest tonight. Why has the medical establishment ignored the potential of ivermectin and mebendazole in cancer treatments, given that 84% of participants in a recent study reported positive results? Joining us to discuss this and more is world-renowned doctor and chief scientific officer at the wellness company, Dr. Peter McCullough. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know anything that is even 80% effective in treating cancer, much less things like chemotherapy and radiation, which destroy the body almost as much as the cancer does. Why on earth is this not getting more publicity?
You know, we have, I think, critical information here at the Wellness Company. We did the right thing. We have a combination ivermectin-Mebendazole product used on label for neglected parasitic infections, but patients can elect to use it off-label if they inform their hematologist oncologists and they complete forms. And so we actually have these patient-reported outcomes, which are encouraging. And of course, they're preliminary. But, this is exactly the type of thing that Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at the NIH and the National Cancer Institute should be pursuing. So let me give you the information. It's about 200 patients. We followed them each for over 6 months. The most common cancer was prostate in men, breast cancer in women, and then lung cancer, and much less frequently other forms of cancer. 30%, the cancer was widely metastatic and actively going in the wrong direction. And when they went on ivermectin-Mebendazole, 84% had this net clinical benefit. But let me break it down. 48.4%, there was regression of the cancer as reported by the patient from their doctors based on their scans done every 3 months. 36.1% stayed the same, and then 15.6% worsened, which certainly can do in cancer. Now, patients get chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. This is on top of that very preliminary patient-reported outcomes, but boy, are they encouraging.
Yeah, that's a stunning data. There's a bias in the current big pharma world, and that is, let's go find the big next most expensive drug. And it often comes at the expense of looking at time-tested, true medicines that have worked in the past that just either cheaper to make, so they're not as much a financial incentive. How do we begin to adjust that paradigm so that we don't ignore things that might be the perfect solution to a current crisis?
That's a great question. We need incentives for cancer centers, John. This is very important. Right now, the cancer centers are encouraged through what's called book and bill. That means they actually can bill for administering chemotherapy, and they get a cut of the revenue. So cancer centers make more money when they give expensive cancer drugs. They should be incented to actually use broad-based regimens, including generic medications. In this case, that may be quite useful.
Yeah.
Dr. McCullough, I know a lot of people donate to cancer research. If we already have something that could possibly be so efficacious, where's that money going?
That's a very good point. A lot of these cancer research societies, the money gets sucked up into big pharmaceutical protocols. And I know people, are wanting to do the right thing. Listen, cancer is very well funded in the United States through the National Cancer Institute and through the drug companies. They cooperate in what's called cancer cooperatives. What we've done at the Wellness Company is, in a sense, be a disruptive force and allowed patients to make their choice. And we tracked what happened, and it was very, very favorable.
What a novel idea, putting the patient back in control of their health. It's we almost forgot that used to exist before COVID. Before we let you go, I had a long interview today with Senator Ron Johnson. He continues to find really significant evidence that strong signals of safety concerns with the COVID vaccine were swept under the rug for 2 or 3 years. All right, we started with the heart inflammation for young people. Now it's ischemic stroke for older people. He says there may be another round of disclosures coming soon. How did we get to a point where doctors thought and the medical establishment thought it's okay to hide something that might be a signal of danger to patients?
They were led by the public health agencies. And what he's talking about is a report on stroke where our public health agencies actually changed the verbiage in the report to make it less serious, make it less concerning in the description of these vaccine-induced strokes. So we have to take a very careful look at our public health agencies. They should be putting patient safety first and not trying to push the pharmaceuticals and the vaccines and other products. And so things got backwards, and boy, Johnson is an American hero in putting Americans first in terms of their drug and vaccine safety.
He really has been a clarion voice on Capitol Hill about this. One more question before we let you go. I know you said that this study, these are preliminary findings, and there are some other official things that have to happen. But once that happens, is there any chance in the world that the establishment medical community is going to embrace it? Will they be forced to because of their patients?
Well, things are moving along. There are a few cancer trials individually of ivermectin and mebendazole. What needs to happen now is large-scale clinical trials, largely in solid organ tumors, of the combination, and I think at higher doses. The most common dose was 1 capsule a day. That's 25 to 50, but in fact, some actually use 2 or even 3 or 4. I think we need to move to higher doses and do a large prospective, double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trials. We understand the safety profile here. So I think now it's a full steam ahead in terms of large-scale trials.
Unbelievable. When you look at that safety profile compared to, again, the side effects of things like chemo and radiation, there just is absolutely no comparison. World-renowned doctor and chief scientific officer at the wellness company, Dr. Peter McCullough, thank you so much for coming, and thanks for this great news.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. And to our viewers, go to twc.health/justnews and use the promo code JUSTNEWS to save 10% on your order. That's twc.health/justnews. Promo code JUSTNEWS to save 10%. We'll be right back on the other side.